My name is Michael Davis. I am the Science Cargo Supervisor down in McMurdo. This next season will be my 21st year in a row in the Antarctic Program. This will be my 17th year as the Supervisor of Science Cargo. So I have a little bit of knowledge. All of the science groups that go out to the field, they all start at Science Cargo for the most part. That's where we process their cargo. So once we get all the cargo all processed, we then, that all gets barcoded, gets weighed, and then it gets processed by MCC. They're the other half of ATO, Antarctic Transportation Operations. Once we get to that point where now you're ready for your ice cores to travel from the deep field, the LC will go out there. The crews out there will have already palletized them. They've got the boxes. They would put them on an Air Force pallet. So the plane is now refrigerated. It's deep soaked. It's cold soaked, and so then they bring the pallets on. Every temperature sensitive sample that flies into McMurdo, I actually personally have to meet that aircraft. So I meet the aircraft, and then we start then when the aircraft landed. And so I'm keeping a log of all of this, and my admin is also keeping a double log, so we QA off each other through radio transmissions of me telling her as we're making the trip in. I actually ride in with the Delta, so the ice cores are right behind me in the Delta, and I'm the one who's there every time. Once we get into town, my science cargo crew, they're already standing by. They know what reefer we're going to be putting them in. A reefer is a refrigerated mill van. So if you think of a 20-foot dry mill van, this one actually has a motor on the back, and it chills things or it keeps things frozen. So they know what reefer we're going to be loading this stuff in. They're standing by. Now also going to put more data loggers on this shipment. So we have something that's measuring temperature in every box. We now have something measuring temperature on every stack of ice cores in the reefer. And then we also have the computer readout, which comes from the reefer also. So once the reefer's done and we lock it up, we actually seal it with a serial seal. And we're good to go there. About the third week of January, the resupply ship makes its way to McMurdo. That's all our stuff that we need for the next year. And then now we're going to refill it with all our waste and also all the science gear and all of the research that the science groups have come up with. And that's what we'll load onto that ship. We'll get the ship loaded when it's time for the ice cores, because the ice cores, they're going to be on top deck. And the reason for that, well, two reasons for that. Number one, we need to be able to have a flat surface. If something should go wrong with the reefer, we need to have a surface to be able to transfer the material. So they'll be right on the deck of the ship. What we also do, we have special reefers that are called Kling reefers. That's a company that made them. And what they have dual compressors. So they are their own backup. But we actually then double that backup. And we have an empty Kling reefer standing by right across from it on the deck, so that if something should go wrong twice with the Kling reefer, first compressor, second compressor, we have an empty reefer right across from it, and we're ready to move that material right into there. We also have a refrigeration tech who actually rides the ship south and also north. His number one job is to make sure that the reefers that have the science samples in them are working correctly. His second job is then he can check all the trash reefers, and he does that every 12 hours for the entire trip. The length of the voyage, the boat finally leaves McMurdo. It takes them 7 days to get to Christchurch. We're usually in Christchurch about 2 days to do a little bit of offload, and then they beat feet back to Port Hueneme. And that usually let's say, we'll round it up to 30 days. Once the ship gets to Port Hueneme, after everything is cleared by customs, then we start the offload. We actually will then take the entire reefer and we're just going to put it on that flatbed, and then we're going to chain it down, we turn the reefers on to their compressors, and then we plan on we need to get back to Denver. Me and the reefer tech, we then jump into our van, escort those two trucks back to the Ice Core Laboratory in Denver. Right now, we've been hitting about 25 to 27 hours a trip because it's 2 drivers, and the only reason we stop every 6 hours so that we can check the temperature readings on the compressors, on the reefer mill fans. And then other than that, they take off and we take off. When we finally pull into NICL, we then jump up and we start unchaining everything. NICL is standing by, they're met at the gate. And then we start unloading, and they go straight out of the truck and into their -30 reefer. And then that's where their storage. And then they push them in there. And then usually months later, that's when the science groups all come to NICL. And then that's when they start opening boxes. The samples have got to be in the same pristine condition that they were received by me, from the grantee. And so if I do something that damages that sample, then all their research is for naught. That now piece is gone. And so with that, that's why we have tons of checklists, and we follow the checklist, and we know that every single sample is going to be handled the exact same way. And that's pretty much my mantra. Follow the checklist. We cannot go wrong. And that's how we process samples.